welcome back. And today I'll be telling you the story of the three brothers. So, without further ado, let's start. What are you waiting for? The three brothers. Time to get up, Rama called to his brothers through the darkness. Already? Groaned his middle brother, Krishna. Please, just 5 more minutes, yawned Mohan, the youngest. I don't like these early starts any more than you, Rama sighed. But what other way do we have to earn a living? However awful the farm is, working there is our only choice. The farm was indeed awful. That day, like every other, the three boys rose and dressed before sunrise, put on their battered old sandals, and set off on the long walk from their hut to the farm. Along the dusty road they trod, winding out of the village and up into foothills. By the time they arrived, the sun was only just coming up and they were already exhausted. About time, said the old farmer when he saw them at the gate. Rama, I want you to start harvesting the wheat. Krishna, you can get to work feeding the animals. As for you, he said to Mohan, go and clean out the barns as usual. All day they worked, mostly out in the blazing sun, until the palms of their hands were red raw and blistered, and they ached from their heads to their feet and everywhere in between. Finally, the sun dipped below the horizon and the day came to an end. That's enough for today, boys, said the farmer. Here, he said, as he handed Rama a single coin to share between them. Don't spend it all at once. The brothers trudged away from the farm and set off on the road back to their village. It's hopeless, complained Krishna on the way home. We are going to be stuck on that farm forever, working like slaves for the rest of our days. I'm afraid you're right, Krishna, said Ram glumly. But at least we have each other. Without you two, I don't know how I would cope. There must be something we can do, Mohan said. We can't live our whole lives like this. Just keep praying. That's all we can do, replied Rama with a sigh. Come on then, said Mohan, trying to raise their spirits. Let's pray to the gods right now and ask them to make us rich. We have nothing to lose, I suppose, Krishna muttered. So the three boys stopped walking and knelt on the road in the moonlight, pressing their hands together. They prayed, please, gods, tell us how to become rich. To their astonishment, a gentle but clear whisper filled the air. You must go to the temple and collect some holy water from the fountain. Take it high into the hills to where the great waterfall plunges into the pool below. Pour in 3 drops of the holy water, and all the water will turn into gold. If you do this, you'll be rich. The boys stayed kneeling, spellbound. But be warned, continued the whisper. You may each only visit the holy fountain once, and if the water is not holy, then you will be turned into stone. That night, the boys discussed what they had heard. I, the oldest, declared Rama, I should be the one to go. The next morning, he went to the temple, filled a large jug with water from the fountain, and set off into the hills. The sun was beating down on his shoulder, and it wasn't long before he became thirsty. So he took a gulp of water from the jug. Just then, he heard a weak bark and saw a scrawny dog at the side of the path. I'm so terribly thirsty, croaked the dog. Please, may I drink some of your water? I'm sorry, replied Rama. I have a long way to go, and I might get thirsty again myself. And he hurried on. A short while later, he took another sip of water. As he lowered the jug from his face, he saw an old man dressed in rags on the path ahead. I haven't drunk anything for days, said the man, and I'm so thirsty. I can barely go on. Please, dear boy, may I drink some of your water? I'm sorry, I need this water for something really important, replied Rama, striding past. Further and further, Rama climbed along the winding path through the hills. At last, he could see the great waterfall ahead, plunging over a cliff and down into a river. Oof, this is thirsty work, he thought, pausing under a tree, and he took another swig from the jug, which by this time was nearly empty. He was about to move on when he heard a baby's cry. Peering around the tree, he saw, to his astonishment, a straw basket on the ground. Lying inside was a baby girl. I expect she's thirsty, thought Rama. But if I give her my water, I won't have any for the waterfall, and I've let my brothers down. With a regretful look, he turned and left the baby. Finally, he reached a great waterfall where the white, foaming water crashed down into the river below. I have made it! He cried, shaking the jug triumphantly as the last of the water sloshed around inside. He knelt down, dipped 3 drops into the waterfall, and instantly turned to stone. Back in the village that evening, Rama's younger brothers were getting worried. Rama should have been home by now, said Krishna. I hope he's all right, added Mohan, feeling afraid for his eldest brother. Tomorrow, I'll take the holy water to the waterfall, announced Krishna, and I will find Rama too. The next morning, Krishna set off just as Rama had done before him. He too saw the dog, the old man, and the baby on his way into the hills, but just as Rama had done, he ignored them all. When he finally reached the waterfall, he saw his brother cast in stone. Oh, you fool! Cried Krishna. You must have brought the wrong kind of water. I'll sort this out. You can thank me later, he added, pouring 3 drops of water into the waterfall, and in an instant he too was turned to stone. Mohan did not know what could have happened. He spent the whole night waiting for his brothers to return and didn't sleep for worry. By sunrise, he had made up his mind. I'm going to have to visit the waterfall myself, he decided. He went straight to the temple, filled a large jug with water from the fountain, and started walking out of the village into the hills. As the sun rose in the sky, it grew hotter and hotter, and Mohan was soon dripping with sweat. Tired from carrying the jug and desperately thirsty, he took a sip from the jug and saw the dog lying by the side of the road. Gruff, 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 barked the dog, his voice hoarse and weak. Please, may I have some water? Well, I only have this jug full, but here you are, said Mohan, carefully tipping some water into the dog's mouth. The dog swallowed gratefully. Thank you. You're a kind boy, said the dog. Mohan went on along the path further and further into the hills. The next time he took a sip of water, he saw the old man. Please, may I have some water? Begged the man in one voice, so quiet Mohan could hardly hear him. I haven't drunk for days, and I'm not sure I can last much longer. Mohan swirled the water around in the jug. There wasn't much left, but he decided to share what he had with the old man. Thank you, dear boy, said the man with a beaming, toothless grin. Mohan carried on along the road. Sweat dripped on down his forehead, and his feet ached from walking on the rocky path. Finally, he saw the great waterfall ahead. I'll just have one more tiny sip to keep me going for the last part of my journey, he thought, stopping by a tree to drink from the jug again. As he did, he heard a baby crying. He looked around the other side of the tree and saw a baby girl who had been left lying in a straw basket all on her own. Who could abandon a baby? He wondered in horror. And in this heat too. She needs some water. He shook the jug and listened as the last few drops sloshed around in the bottom. I won't have any water left to pour into the waterfall, but I have to help this child. He bent down and gently poured his precious last few drops into her mouth. She swallowed, giggled happily, and settled into a peaceful doze. Don't worry, little girl, I'll keep you safe from harm, he whispered. Mohan picked up the girl in her basket and looked longingly towards the waterfall. He didn't regret what he had done, but he couldn't help feeling a huge disappointment that he would fail the task. Well, what he saw next made him feel far worse. There, standing stiff at the water's edge, were Rama and Krishna cast in stone. Racing over to them, Mohan sank to his knees on the river bank. He stared down at his reflection in the water, and his bottom lip quivered with fear, sadness, and grief. You have failed, Mohan, he spluttered. You will never be rich now, and much worse than being poor for the rest of your life. You have lost your two brothers. He closed his eyes and started to sob. 1, 2, 3 teardrops rolled down his face and dropped into the water. Plop, plop, plop. All of a sudden, Mohan could no longer hear the sound of water rushing by beside him. He opened his eyes and couldn't believe what he had saw. Gold! He cried in shock, staring at the gleaming nuggets of solid gold which filled the riverbed and poured over the cliff where the waterfall had once been. But I ran out of holy water. You are a very kind boy, Mohan, came a soft voice that echoed all around him. You have shown your others the error of their ways. This is your reward. Mohan jumped up and looked around, but he couldn't see anyone or the sleeping baby, who had vanished along with her basket. At that moment, he heard two voices over his shoulder. He recognized them at once. Mohan! Mohan! You saved us! They said joyfully. How can we ever thank you? Rama! Krishna! You're alive! Cried Mohan. They wrapped their arms around each other and for a moment just stood hugging, delighted to be together again. Now, said Mohan, what are we going to do with all this gold? Rama and Krishna looked at each other and thought of how long they had dreamed of becoming rich. But then they remembered what they had learned. You have shown us the value of being unselfish, Mohan. Let's take it home and share it among the villagers. And with that, the three brothers filled their pockets, linked arms, and set off down the hill. The end. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you like today's video, smash that like button, and if you want me to post another Savithri Satyavan story, which is the next story today itself, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video.